we're going to do here this evening is, first of all, thank our sponsors. There are 4 of them. The Swatara Watershed Association is your primary sponsor. League of Women Voters, people are here helping us in that regard, doing the timing. We want to try to keep this in a format that moves along, so they're going to be doing that for us.
Well, we might give them each a closing statement. What do you think? Okay? Democratic Representative Greg Vitale has sponsored a bill to force consideration of a proposal to tax natural gas drilling in Marcellus Shale. House Republicans want to send it back to the Environmental Resources and Energy Committee, while House Democrats say no more work is needed on it and that the move is an attempt to kill it. What is the current status? This is a long one. In either house of any proposed legislation to tax natural gas drilling in Pennsylvania?
Vitale's down in my neck of the woods. Whoever wrote it, are you talking about House Bill 33? I think you're referring to House Bill 33, which Vitale has been very proactive in writing several impact fee, extraction fee, whatever the terminology you want to use. The input that I've had recently is that this is kind of a stall tactic of trying to just make it sit long enough that it will just die a natural death, so to speak. Does that sound about the, yeah. It is a decent tax. I will say that and I think some other folks here can confirm this, that Alaska, for example, has a 20% extraction tax. We've got more fuel here in Pennsylvania than anyone else in the nation and possibly the world when it comes to natural gas. And that's just Marcellus Shale, that's not the Utica. Remember, Devonian is Marcellus and Utica Shale. For us to be looking at anything less than a 10%, 7% tax is, in my personal opinion, absurd. It's just absurd. The rationale that they'll go somewhere else is absurd. The fuel is here. They're not going to go anywhere else. They can't find the fuel anywhere else, not in this magnitude. So to full circle back to House Bill 33, it is an extraction tax and it is being held up.
Wildlife, old forest, old tree forests, and fish and stream impacts with the chemicals that have been used for the development. Anybody know of anything? You guys have the most active parts of.
Surface water quality, we haven't really seen any serious impacts yet. I mean, there's some monitoring going on, not much, but we haven't seen that. It's more of a groundwater issue at this point. So, you know, fisheries, you know, we're waiting to see. A lot of forest disturbance, and we didn't get into what our conversation over dinner as far as the impacts on the forestry industry and some of those other issues. Again, there are impacts. The extent of that, I don't know if we can quantify that yet at this point. So there are some, but again, it remains to be seen.
Some people are gathering wildlife. There is a veterinarian up in Ithaca, New York, willing to take tissues to evaluate, see if they were impacted by frac chemicals getting into their system. We do know of some cattle that have died, so I assume that there has been wildlife, but there is one guy that is collecting wildlife and he has a bunch of it in his freezer, waiting for a veterinarian to come and claim it, so we're trying to make the connection between the two of them.
What I would like to add, if you don't mind, is that if you own land that you think there is Marcellus Shale, and it might be drilled at some point, what's very important for you to do, because of course we're talking about clean water, is to today go and get your well tested. You need a baseline so that in the future, if your well does become contaminated and they say, can you prove it? You can say, yes, sir. Here's my baseline. You need a well test.
Well,
Absolutely.
in reference to that as well, the testing is something that Carol and I have worked quite extensively on, and we have gone around and compared water testers, and there are different qualities in the water testing that's done. You want to get a specific test. This is Carol's water test for her farm. One of the most important parts is you want to have a document that is going to be legally defendable in court. That's the reason why you're doing it. Because it's like an insurance policy, you want to make sure that you have a baseline and that you can take that and give that to anyone and they can take it into a courtroom, whether it be the person who collected the water or someone else can take that into the courtroom and represent you appropriately. That has what they call QA/QC, which is quality assurance, quality control. That shows how all of the equipment in the lab was calibrated at the time to verify it. If that's not with that document and you go into a courtroom, the industry will argue that your calibration was wrong and your figures are wrong. That also has what they call a full data deliverable, and that shows how the sampling was taken, how much they purged, how long they purged the water for. The stabilization, when we do water testing, because Carol and I just happen to now work for this company, because we liked their work so much, and we're learning from it. So we generally purge the water for at least an hour and a half before we take any sampling. Make sure that all of the stuff is stabilized, the temperature, the pH, there's a whole bunch of list of things that we have to do. Very important that you get a good report, because the industry is giving you 3 pages. Their report is 3 pages. Well, that's her report.
That's 5 water sources.
That's 5 water sources, and that's what the industry did. So, and they're not testing for everything. They're not testing for strontium, which is one of the chemicals that is coming up high in our area.
Also, when the gas company comes to your house and starts purging the water, we video and audio them doing it, because we're getting ready to set it up in case we do end up going to court because our water has become contaminated. They purged my water for about 8 minutes, and so they never brought the water to stabilization and sampling. So my sampling is not a true sample. In fact, my pond, my spring, and the creek had more methane in it than my well water. So it's just a difference in testing.
If your well water does become contaminated, does your home get condemned? What happens?
They haven't condemned any homes in our area. In fact, the industry and the DEP has allowed people to live in their homes with explosive levels of methane while they argue whether or not it was caused by the industry. And there was no alternate water supplies to the family as well.
So are you bringing water in yourself?
For mine?
For the contaminated wells, are people bringing it in at their own expense?
We know of a family that
goes to their daughter's house and picks up water every day to drink.
and then another one, because they had a little bit of money on the father's side, he bought them a buffalo and is buying the water for them. Also, you gotta remember, if your water is contaminated, one lawyer asked the one lady, is it really truly an inconvenience? But it is, it's an inconvenience. You don't realize how much water you do use. And we were talking to the people in Dimick, and they said, look, we had a Christmas party, we had to put our order in a week ahead of time because we expected 4 people for the weekend. You have to think that far ahead of how you're going to order the water. It's a very real problem.
Can you just explain, I don't know if everybody here knows what you're talking about with the water buffalo?
Yeah, I was going to say, water
We
buffaloes.
have a picture.
They have a picture on there that slides.
It's
basically a big water tank that they can
It's a
transport.
plastic container that they hook up to your house, and they generally have a pump attached to it.
To go into your house, into your home, something that you have, it's put outside because it's that big, or in your garage, so it takes up space, and you pay for the electricity to pump it or to heat it.
Well, I told the speakers, you know,